Good day. Today we have the fourth lecture on the history of medicine. Today's theme is medicine in early and developed Middle Ages. So these ages is an era of feudal or serf relation, and it includes the 12th and 13th centuries. The feudal system has been started in different countries in different centuries. So in China, it started about 3 to 2nd centuries BC. In India, in the 1st century AD. In the Tsarist and Middle Asia, from 4 to 6 centuries, in Western Europe from 5 to 6 centuries, in the old Russian state in the 9th centuries, and in all countries, feudalism had 3 main periods: formation, development, and decline. Byzantium. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire was slaved the Eastern Roman Empire. It was called Byzantium. Byzantium became the largest cultural center in the Eastern Europe, and with its capital, Constantinople. The state religion of the Byzantium Empire was Christianity. It is a church in Constantinople. The monastery. The positive role of Byzantium is preserving the ancient culture of the ancient world and pass it on the other nations. Promoted the revival of culture in Western Europe. Among the many cultural achievements of the Byzantium Empire, retained many works and traditions of Eastern Greek and Roman philosophy, including the legacy of medicine. The development of medical knowledge. The main source of medical knowledge in Byzantium Empire was a Hippocratic collection and the writing of Galen. However, the search for explanation of the disease nature was stopped. Came to the force to study practical methods of treatment. Medicine and their healing properties have been the subject of special study. Famous medical science of Byzantium. Oribasius made medical encyclopedia in 17 volumes, which summarized the work of Hippocrates, Galen, Democritus, and others. A collection of 9 volumes of review or synopsis have survived to our foundation of ancient medicine. Synopsis for many years served as a textbook for doctors. Oribasius also compiled a collection of simple recipes how to prepare easy medicine. The development features of medicine Byzantium. Organized by the high school, taught philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The training system has been designed to acquire secular education. The most famous were the school in Alexandria and Constantinople. Medicine in Byzantium was considered a theoretical discipline and studied manuscripts of ancient authors. Particular attention is paid to methods of treatment worked out in previous centuries and the study drugs. The dead bodies were dissected. Development. In early Middle Ages, there were the first civilian hospital. The organization of these hospitals connected with the idea of hospitality and assigned to the needy, the poor, and the infirm. Hospital held on the money of the church, was developed monastic medicine. Hospitals operated on the basics of monastic characters and played a great role in insulator to prevent epidemics. One of the first monastery hospital was founded in the Caesarea. High organization of hospital case related to the period of late Byzantium. For example, a hospital in Constantinople founded in the 12th century, there were 5 officers, the permanent staff of doctor and their assistants, reception incoming patients, training medical skill was in hospital. Compared with Western Europe, the hospital business in Byzantium was at a higher level. Byzantium, in 10 centuries of its history, has created an original culture and had a great influence on the development of culture and medicine for many nations. In the second half of the 9th century, in the vast land of Eastern Europe, formed the old Russian state, Kievan Rus. This is the old Russian state. The ancient Slavic cities of Kiev, Smolensk, Polotsk, Chernigov, Pskov, Novgorod became a major center of craft and trade. The most important trade artery of ancient Russia was a great way from Viking to Greek, which connected Russia with Scandinavia and Byzantium. Ancient Russian state. Russia came to feudalism bypassing the slave system. The most important event in the history of Russia was the adoption of Christianity as a state religion. Christianing of Russia was in 988 during the reign of Prince Vladimir. Крещение Руси. The value of adoption of Christianity. For the development of the old Russian state was greatly influenced by facilitating the development of the culture, the creation of written monuments, art, and architecture. Changing the international position of the old Russian state, it became like the Christian state of Europe. Establishment close relations with Byzantine Christianity brought with it many of the achievements of the Byzantium and ancient medicine. The doctors in old Russian state. Lecce, representative of traditional medicine, and doctors professional, invited foreign doctors. The views on the cause of disease. The personification of disease and tribulation in Slavic mythology were demonic entires, grief and licho. Reached our days, transmitted verbally, conspired, addressed to the pagan gods that can get rid of the disease. Patients were treated by various means of plants, animal, and mineral origin. Treatment with vegetable origin. It is such as sagebrush, Scythian herb, garlic, onion, plantain, juniper, birch juice, livers of beech and linden, nettlebark of oak and ash. Treatment of animal origin. Milk, including mare of milk, butter, young deer antlers, raw cod liver, honey. Treatment agents of mineral origin. Chrysaline in a particular form, sawdust from copper, the powder from silver and gold, vinegar, saltpeter, turpenic, copper sulphate, they used for the healing properties of mineral water. For example, narza. This how looked the bathhouses. Hospital in Russia. The first free hospital opened in the monastery in Pereslav in the 11th century. Monastery hospital in Kiev appeared in the 12th century. The hospital's experienced doctors worked in a hospital monastery. The monastery hospitals were available to the public, and the medical care was free. Old Russian monastery hospitals were centers of education. They collected Greek and Byzantine manuscripts and taught medicine. Monks supplied their own knowledge based on the experience of Russian folk healing. The source of information. Изборник Святослав described by sign disease and methods of their treatment. Лечебник, the general remark on hygiene, hygiene of marriage, food hygiene, external disease, and internal disease. Therapy collection, the practical advice of traditional medicine, and charters. Grand Prince Vladimir Svetoslav determined the legal status of the doctor. Russian truth, a set of legal norms of Kievan rules. Pateric, chronicle of Kiev Peroslavsk monastery. The charter of the monastery hospital. Healers information about the monastery and about medical ethics. And the Masteroi, the rules and regulation of household hygiene. And resolution of the Stoglav of the cathedral about the sick and maimed. In various forms, healing existed in the ancient tribes. Among the people, it was called the people's healing. After the adoption of Christianity, the development of monastic medicine. Since the reign of Yaroslav Mudry, appeared secular medicine in Russia. The 1137 was marked by an attack on the Russian land by Mongol hordes. During the invasion, killed a variety of cultural values, records, books, monuments of culture. And during the invasion of the conquerors, did not destroy the monasteries and left them all rights as they used before the conquerors. And the medicine during the period of Mongol Tatar. During that period, it was developed in two directions. Further development traditional medicine and develop of medical service in monasteries. The liberation struggle of the Russian people against the Mongol Tatar yoke was completed in the 15th century. Russian lands were united into one state, the Moscow state. During the formation of the Moscow state, a greater role of the development of medicine played Kirill Belozersk monastery. The Arab Caliphate. By the 8th century, the Arabs conquered the Syria, Egypt, North Africa, Arabia, Iran, Armenia, part of Central Asia. Features of medicine in the Arab Caliphate. Doctors Arab Caliphate kept the precious heritage of medicine ancient world, also ancient Greeks and ancient Asia. Approx medicine to the natural science, chemistry, developed the doctrine of poison and antidotes, to lay the foundation of toxicology, to verify the correctness of treatment, studied the effects of drug and animals, improved the organization of hospitals. features of medicine in the Arab Caliphate. For religious reasons, autopsy was not conducted, resulting the level of anatomical studies was small. And therefore, surgery and obstetrics developed weaker than the study of infectious disease, hygiene, and pharmacology. Representation about disease. Under the influence of ancient Greek knowledge, formed the doctrine of four bodily juices. According to the ideas of the Arabs, each of the fluid involved in the creation of the four qualities, heat, cold, dryness, and humidity, that determines mizads or temperament of each person. And temperament can be normal if all the components is balanced. The organization of hospitals. They have chambers for the treatment of patients with the same disease. Departments of the hospital were divided into male and female, surgical, to treat eye disease in patients with fever and etc. But most hospitals have pharmacy. The main feature of the hospitals, the room for lectures. Hospitals for the poor, providing from the funds of governor of the state. Small private hospitals financed by private doctors and public figures, and military hospitals. They moved with the troops and accommodate in tents. Famous doctors: Ar-Razi, Al-Zarqawi, Abu Ali ibn Sina, or it is mostly known as Avicenna. Ar-Razi founded a hospital in Baghdad, organized by the school doctors, combined theoretical training with the hospital practice. He is an author of over 200 works in 25 volumes. His work on smallpox and measles. These books for a long time served as a textbook in the universities of Western Europe. He applied viralization. He studied the effects of drugs on animals, proposed tools to extract foreign objects from their throat, apply catgut, attached great importance to specialized of doctors. Al-Zarawi, the famous surgeon. He proposed a laying position during operation on small pelvis. He's an author of new surgical instruments, developed a methodology categorize blood vessels in the wound, wrote encyclopedic work on surgery, and after translating it into Latin in the 12th century, it became a handbook of surgeons in medieval Europe. Avicenna. His work. His famous book, The Canon of Medicine. In this book, there is the most important encyclopedia of medical knowledge of the ancient world. It summarized the experience of ancient Greek, Roman, Indian, and Central Asian doctors and selected best medical practice. Ibn Sina was not limited to retelling of the past and made a critical analysis of medical knowledge that existed at the beginning of the 11th century. It was two postulates of Medicine, also Avicenna. Canon of Medicine. The main thing of the art of preserving health, a balancing of the factors necessary. It included the serenity of nature, choice of food, get fit, improving what inhaled by nose, accommodation clothes, the serenity of physical and mental state. So the second book described the teaching about medicine and their test. The third book was devoted to description of a certain disease and their treatment. The fourth book was devoted to surgery. And the fifth book described the complex of medicine, of poison and antidotes. So the contribution of Avicenna to the development of medical science expressed the idea of invisible infectious agents, developed dietetic sections for children, all adults, and the elderly. For the treatment of wounds, recommended the use of the wine, and he described the symptoms of early cancer. He offered several hundred new drugs of plants, animal, and mineral origin, paid great importance to the experience as a method of knowledge. He was engaged in disease prevention, tried to distinguish between religion and science, rejected demonological ideas about the causes of nervous and mental disease. So his book. The great role the dissemination of medical knowledge of the Arab Caliphate play commentators and translators of medical literature from Arabic into Latin. Medicine and science in Western Europe. The dominant philosophy, scholasticism, or scholasia, is the idealist philosophy. All possible knowledge already given in scripture or in the writing of the church father. The center for health education in the Middle Ages were universities. In the 11th century appeared the University of Salerno. In 11th, 13th century, Bologna, Paris, Pavia. In the 14th century, in Prague, Vienna. Charters and educational plans were controlled by the Catholic Church. Methods of teaching and the nature of science were scholastic. In the field of medicine, famous ancient writers were Galen and Hippocrates. The weak development of anatomical knowledge. For medicine in the Western Europe was characterized by the creation of hospitals in the monasteries. Treatment was accompanied by ritual actions. Healing associated with the wonders of saints. Pharmacy has been closely associated with alchemy. The spread of the devastating epidemics of infectious disease. Their reason is the growth of cities, military colonial movement, the Crusaders. Introduction to the large port cities, the special anti-epidemic measures. They set quarantine, appointed the special port overseers, trust health, introduced to the regulation special rules that had the purpose to prevent the spread of infectious disease. The city provided good drinking water. Development of surgery has been associated with numerous wars. Surgery in the Middle Ages was engaged. Doctors who graduated from medical school practice-born settlers and barbers. Ambrose Pare, the founder of surgery in the Western Europe. His achievements. He summarized the experience of medieval surgery. He published a book about the treatment of gunshot wounds, improved techniques of amputation, applied trying of large vessels in the wound. He proposed complex orthopedic devices, artificial limbs and joints. Medicine in medieval Europe developed in an adverse condition, but under these conditions appeared the medicine of the Renaissance, which will be the theme of one of the next lectures. For today, the lecture is over. See you on next lectures. Goodbye.